Hello, welcome back to Cinderella Math. Today I'll be doing the PSAT / National Merit Test, Practice Test 1, right from the College Board website as of October 2024. So you will want to go ahead, grab some scratch paper, pencil, calculator of your choice. Just make sure it's on the list that's allowed for the PSAT. If you go to the College Board website, you'll see the list. Any scientific calculator is allowed, and then most graphing calculators. Again, just check that list on College Board. Or go ahead and pull up Desmos, because as of 2024, Desmos is allowed on College Board testing. So let's go ahead and jump right in to practice test 1 for the PSAT, or that national merit qualifying test. Same thing, I think. All right, and we'll just go ahead and fast forward to the math section. Right here, you do have a list of formulas, mostly geometry formulas, so we are able to reference that if needed. And we're going to jump right on in. How many teaspoons are equivalent to 44 tablespoons? Right, so let's set up a proportion. This is nice that they gave us that 3 teaspoons is equivalent to 1 tablespoon. So we don't know how many teaspoons are in 44 tablespoons. That is a proportion. We're going to now cross multiply. You can kind of ignore the t's, just go for the numbers. So x times 1 is just 1x, or x. 3 times 44, you can use your calculator or Desmos or do it by hand, whatever you like to do. 3 times 44 is 132. So there would be 132 little teaspoons in 44 tablespoons. There's probably other ways to do that other than doing the proportion, but that's what came to my mind first. The function f is defined by f of x equals 1 over 6x. What is the value of that function when x is 3? So that's a lot of words for not a hard problem. We just need to take this x and replace it with 3. Just direct substitution here. 1 over 6 times 3 is 1 over 18. Number 3. If x is 40, what is the value of x plus 6? So also just direct substitution. If x equals 40, take that 40, put it right there. 40 plus 6 is 46. Okay. Up to the top of the paper, number 4. What is 23% of 100? So technically the percent formula is you take the whole times your percentage, but we do usually turn that to a decimal, and that equals the part. So we have 100, let's say we have 100 candies, and 20% of them are sour. Let's just make that up. So 23%, put your pencil right here, bump, bump. So that would be 0.23. We're going to multiply, and we'll get what part, how many of the candies are sour, if you will. And if you run that through a calculator, that's 23. Now, 100 is the best number they could have put there. Whenever it's 100, it's just whatever this number is. So we really didn't need to go all through that, but what if it wasn't 100? If you want to use the embedded Desmos calculator, you can just go 23% of 100. If you want to just go ahead and knock it out that way, it'll work too. So that was A. Number 5, we need the equivalent expression of 50x squared plus 5x squared. So those are like terms. We can just add 50 plus 5, so 55, and you keep the x squared. A big mistake I see is people say x to the 4th. But when you're just adding or subtracting these like terms, you keep the variable and the exponent the same. So that would be D. Coming down to 6. The population density of Cedar County is 230 people per square mile. The county has a population of 85,100 people. What is the area in square miles of Cedar County? Okay, so we have people and square miles. They tell us that 230 people live per square mile. So 1 square mile has 230 people. We look up the population of the entire county, and it's this 85,100. So that's the people. How many square miles? So we have set up a proportion, and now we cross multiply. 1 times that 85,100 would be 85,100. 230 times x is 230x. Divide, divide, right through your favorite calculator, whether you're going to Desmos or just using your handheld. And we get 370. So x is 370 square miles. And I think you would just type that in. They'd probably have like square miles on the paper. So again, proportion to the rescue there. And we're done with page 1. Number 7, what is the solution? So we need to solve for W, but oh man, W's on the bottom. This means divide, so let's do the opposite of divide, or the inverse. Let's multiply W. And then we'll do it over here to be fair. Divide and multiply will cancel out, and we'll get negative 54 equals 6W. Divide by 6, and we get negative 9 is W. Coming down to 8. For the function f, we have the graph. It's telling us we have a slope of 3 and passes through the point 0, negative 8. So if you're thinking of the linear, it's y equals mx plus b. And they tell us we have a slope of 3. So we need 3 in the m spot. M is slope. So this is y equals 3x plus b. Now, unfortunately, all of them have 3x. But if they didn't, you would go ahead and eliminate if we could. All right. And then they do tell us a point. This is x, this is y. So if we plug that in, we get negative 8 equals 3 times 0 plus b. But anything times 0 is just gone. Negative 8 equals b. So put that back there. We have a final answer of y equals 3x plus negative 8, but plus a minus, that looks clunky, right? We know that can just be minus, which will give us the choice B. F of x is just the function notation of y. Same difference. The other way you could have thought about that is graphically, it says it hits the point 0, negative 8. So over 0, down 8. And then it has a slope of 3. So up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1, something like that. That is the y-intercept. So when you think of y equals mx plus b, that is your b. And then they already told you the slope. So y equals 3x plus negative 8. But again, the plus minus looks clunky. So we know that can really be minus. So you could think of it more algebraically, or you could think of it graphically. Same answer, choice B. Number 9, the triangle shown has a perimeter of 22. If x is 9, okay, let's write that in, and y is 7, what is z? So we do need to know that perimeter means all the way around, kind of the edges, kind of like you're putting up a fence. So we're going to do 9, add 7, add z will equal the entire perimeter of 22. Combine these to get 16 plus z is 22, minus 16 to remove that, and z is 6. That would give us our perimeter of 22. Coming down to 10. The function h is defined by h of x is 3x minus 7. What is the value of h of negative 2? So this was h of x, we need h negative 2. So see how the x is switched out for negative 2? We're going to do the same thing right here. So keep the 3, change the x to negative 2, and then minus 7. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, minus 7. I pretend it's money. You owe me 6, you owe me 7, you owe me 13. Next page. In the triangle below, above, excuse me, what is the tan of x? So this is some trigonometry here. Tan is TOA. So tan of x is going to be OA, opposite over adjacent. So from that x, opposite means come straight across. This one's opposite, and the adjacent is the flat leg touching you. So from that x, the flat one touching him is 7. So that's the adjacent. That will give us that the tangent of x is 26 over 7. If you could reduce, we would, but that one doesn't. Right. That was 11. Right across to 12, we have a scatter plot. Which of the following is the closest to the slope? Well, it's definitely positive. Yeah, it's going upward from left to right. If you write your name on there, it's slanting upward. So we can get rid of A and we can get rid of B because those are negative. So if you had to guess, you at least would guess one of the positives. And now let's just make our best guess here. Let's look at the graph and we're trying to find the slope. So from this point to maybe this one, looks like we're coming up 1 over 1, 2, 3. So like a third, but that's a guess, right? It's not perfect. That wasn't a perfect guess. Which number is closer to a third? C. Again, that was kind of a rough estimate, but they did say which one is the closest. If you really wanted to get nitty-gritty with it, you could get this point, which is over 4 up 2, and then maybe this one is next closest, right? Which is over 1 up, I don't know, that's hard to tell. You kind of just, again, you guesstimate. What do you think? Up maybe 0.6, 0.7? I'll say 0.6. And you could do the slope formula, which is the second y minus the first y over the second x minus the first x. Let's do that and see if we also get C. That's what we got with just looking at it graphically. Second y minus first, so 0.6 minus 2 over second x minus first, 1 minus 4. Well, the bottom's negative 3, and then if you use a calculator or in your head, 0.6 minus 2 is negative 1.4. Negative divide negative would be positive, and then I'm just going to use a calculator and do 1.4 divide 3, and it's like 0.46 repeating, which is certainly closest to C. I think that takes a little too much time, but you certainly could do that. Okay. Next page, 13. The y-intercept of the graph in the xy plane is something, or 0, comma y. What is the value of y? So I'll do this with Desmos and I'll do it by hand. I'll start by hand. This is the x, this is the y. So take the 0, plug it in for x. So 12 times 0 plus 2y is 18. Well, anything times 0 is gone, right? It's just 0. So we have 2y is 18, divide 2, and we get y is 9. So you would just type 9. That's if you wanted to do it by hand. Not hard, But you could also just run this one through Desmos. 12x plus 2y is 18. 12x plus 2y is 18. And they want the y-intercept. So find where it hits the y-axis at 9. So either way works for that one. 14. A model predicts that a certain animal, weighed 241 pounds when it was born, and that animal gains 3 pounds per day in its first year of life. This one is your slope. Whenever you have the word per, that's your slope. So M is 3, and the starting value, right? That's, well, yeah. Your starting value is your y-intercept, which is usually B. So usually a line looks like this, y equals mx plus b. So we could say y equal 3x plus 241. The animal, let's call it, I don't know, a tiger, is gaining 3 pounds per day. So that's the rate, that's our slope. And it started off at birth at 241 pounds. So they didn't do y equals mx plus b though. They did this. F of x equals a plus bx. So they switched the order on us. Very sneaky. So a is the number that's by itself, and b is the number with the x. So they said, what's the value of a? That's the one by itself, the 241. So they kind of threw us for a curve there, but we didn't fall for their shenanigans. All right. Nothing to solve there, just kind of figuring that out. Over to 15, looks like we have a quadratic or a parabola. The graph shows the height above the ground in meters of a ball X seconds after the ball was launched upward from a platform. Which statement is the best interpretation of the marked point 1, 4.8 in this context? Okay, so along the x-axis is the time. So this is the time since they launched the object, the ball. And the y-axis here is the height. So I'm going to write over here for room. When we have the point 1, I'm going to cut off the point 0. Well, it's fine. 1.0, comma, 4.8. The x value is the time, and the y value is the height. So this means, down here, after 1 second from the ball being launched, its height is 4.8, and you can see right here they're measuring in meters. So after 1 second, the height of the ball is 4.8 meters. So I think that's A. Just read all those choices carefully, and A is correct. 1 second after being launched, the ball's height is 4.8 meters. So that was truly just being able to see that on the x-axis we have time. So our x1 was time, and the y-axis we have height. So the y number was height. Next page. Based on a random sample from a population, a researcher estimated that the mean value of a certain variable for the population is 20.5, with an associated margin of error of 1. Which of the following is the most appropriate conclusion? Okay, so some people were doing some research from a population. We don't know if it's people or animals, or we're not sure. But some part of that data, they found out that the mean is 20.5. But they did have a margin of error, or MO, of 1. So now we'll just look through the choices and see which one makes the most sense. It is plausible that the actual mean is, it is not possible that the mean, every value of the variable in the population, mean value, which of the following is the most, I mean, I don't think you can say D because that's saying the mean is straight up 20.5 and we don't, that's what they computed, but they had some error in there. So I don't think this is D. This would be correct if there was no error, no margin of error. Okay. And I don't think we can say C either. Every value was between 19.5 and 21.5. No, the average was 20.5, but that doesn't mean that every value was, right? Okay, so I do think C and D were kind of the two to cross out early on. And then B says it's not possible that the mean is less than 19.5 or greater than 21.5. And then A says it is plausible that the mean is between 19.5 and 21.5. It is A because they computed the mean to be 20.5 and the margin of error being 1 means it could go down 1 to 19.5 or it could go up 1 to 21.5. So the mean is somewhere in between there, even though they computed it to be 20.5, because of that margin of error, it could go up 1 or down 1, somewhere in there. So A. B, it's talking about what's not possible, no. A is an apple there. You'll see this a lot on like elections, right? They'll say, you know, candidate A has like 60% of the vote, right? But then if you look really closely at those election things, they'll say like margin of error is plus or minus 4%. So that means maybe candidate A really has 56% of the vote, or maybe that person only has up to 64% of the vote. It's somewhere in between there. So even though on the TV, you're seeing that candidate A has 60%, if you look very closely on those polls, they'll tell you the margin of error. Okay. 17. The given equation relates the positive numbers. Which equation correctly gives n in terms of m and p? So you want n by itself. Okay. We want n to be solved for. So I'm going to write over here for room. Let's go ahead and distribute. And now we want n by itself. So I'm going to subtract to get the 5p over, and then divide 5. But you'll see that's not a choice. So instead of dividing 5 and making it like a big fraction like that, I could divide 5 individually, which would give me 7/5 m, and then 5 divide 5, that would just cancel and be minus p is n. Let's see if that's a choice. Yes, that is choice B. Number 18. Let me go ahead and get some blank paper for this. And let's go ahead and draw a rectangle. Okay. A rectangle has a length that is 15 times the width. Okay, so we have no idea what the width is, and the length is 15 times that width. So if you think of the area of a rectangle, it's length times width. So we would have 15w times w, which is 15w squared. That's the area. And they tell you that right here, pretty much. Which of the following is the best oh, I went too far. Sorry. So 15w is the length, right? Which of the following is the best interpretation of 15w? This is the width, and the length is 15 times that. So this is the length. So 15w is the length. And it really does say length is 15 times width. So this right here is the length. Okay, 19. The solution, okay, I will solve this by hand and in Desmos. So x plus 2y equals 6. X minus 2y equals 4. This is a system of equations, and I'm going to be doing the elimination method. Everything is lined up, and I'm going to add straight down, which will give us 2x. 2 plus negative 2 cancels out, and 6 plus 4 is 10. Divide by 2, and x is 5. And that's what they wanted. So there we go. That was the elimination method for systems of equations. If you don't want to mess with that, you could just graph this. All right, so we have x plus 2y equals 6. And then the second one was x minus 2y equals 4. And you want to click the solution, which is where they intersect. And they just wanted the x answer. So that's x, that's y. They just wanted the x, which is 5. So either way, next page, number 20. The table shows the frequency of the values. What is the minimum value? So we don't actually even care about the frequency. Don't look at that. Minimum value in the data set. Minimum, of course, means the smallest. So what's the smallest value? 19. Don't even look at the frequencies. Okay. 21. A number x is at most 17 less than 5 times the value y. So at most means it's less or equal, right? It could be equal, but it's probably less. X is at most, so means x is equal or less than 17 less than 5 times the value of y. So less than means minus, and we put 17 in the back, 5 times y. If the value of y is 3, so pop that in. 5 times 3 is 15 minus 17, so negative 2. So x is less than or equal to negative 2. So what is the greatest value of x? Negative 2. Because if you think of it on a number line, it could be negative 2 or under. So negative 2 is the absolute greatest it could be. That's a little tricky. You have to know that at most really means it's under. Like if your mom says, at most, you can eat 3 cookies. Does she want you to go more than that? No, you'll get a stomachache, right? She's saying you can eat 3 cookies at the very most. She would like for you probably to stay under 3 cookies. So that's why x is equal or under this stuff. That's a pretty tricky one. 22, what is the positive solution? Easiest way to do this one is graph it. I will do it by hand, but under a time clock, I would not do this by hand. But I'll show you just for fun. So I'm going to factor using the magic X method. I times the first one by the last. So 5 times negative 24 is negative 120. And then I put the middle number here. And now we're going to find factors that multiply here, add here, magic, MA. We want these 2 numbers. So let me get some space off to the side. Let's think of what gives us 120. Well, 120 times 1, but that's not going to add right. 2 times 60, but that's not going to add right. 3 times 40, there we go. If you owe me 40, give me 3. You'd still owe me negative 37. Yeah, that works. So our factors, see this x squared? 1 for you, 1 for me. And now put your magic numbers, which was negative 40 and positive 3. And then we cheated though. When this first number, also known as A, is anything other than 1, when you multiply it, that's cheating. So if you multiply to cheat, we're going to divide under the magic numbers to uncheat. So this will be x minus 8 and x plus 3/5. And then they're asking for solutions. See how this is equal to 0? You're going to equal those both to 0. This will whip around and be 8. Equal this to 0. It'll come over and be -3/2. So if it was asking for both solutions, you would say that 8 and -3/5. Sorry, I think I misspoke a second ago. It's not -3/2. It's -3/5. And they went the positive. So this one's positive. Okay. That is the long way to do it. It works, but under a time clock, I would probably just graph. So we have 5x squared minus 37x minus 24. 5x squared minus 37x. Here. And then this is an answer, this is an answer. And they want the positive. So this one, and you only look at the x. 8. That was certainly faster. All right. 23. In the figure above, lines R and S are parallel, and M intersects both lines. If y is less than 65, which of the following must be true? Okay, so good geometry problem here. Let me zoom that out just a smidge. There we go. If y is less than 65, so vertical, we can just come across. This is y. And now these two together add up to 180, because if the lines are parallel, which they said they are, these two, the x and this green y, are consecutive interior. So x plus y has got to equal 180, which will take out choice D, because that says it'll be bigger, and it'll take out choice C, because that says it'll be smaller. That's not true. It will equal 180. All right, so if y is less than 65, so let's just pick a number less than 65. Let's pick 60. So let's say x plus 60 is 180. Solve that, and you'll get x is 120. Now I know we just picked a number, but we picked a number less than 65, and we got x is 120. So if y is under 65, we can see that x is going to be bigger than 115, because 120 is bigger than 115. So let's go choice B. So that was knowing about the consecutive interior there. Okay, that was, yes. Okay, 24. In the given function, a is a constant. All right, the graph, okay, oof, another tricky one. I'm gonna, oops, sorry, just gonna cover this up so it's not in the, oh my gosh, not in the way. In the given function, a is a constant, and the graph is gonna go 3 down and 4 right. Okay, so 3 down, that's always the number tacked to the end. And that one tells the truth, right? So that's going to change by -3. So 5 minus 3 is going to be +2. So that will get rid of C and D. So if we had to make a guess, you've got it down to a 50-50 chance. And now the 4 units to the right, that's going to mess with the number with the x, and it lies. So if you think of the x-axis, think here at 0. We're going 4 to the right. You think you would do +4, but x is a liar. So we're actually going to do -4, which makes it choice B. With the x, we need a -4. That is just something you got to know. I don't think there's an easier way to go about that. Left and right is a liar, and that's always with your x. Up and down tells the truth, and that's always the number by itself, not with the x. So since it was 3 down, that's why I -3. Alrighty. 25. A machine launches a softball from ground level. The softball reaches a maximum height of 51.84 meters and then hits the ground. Which equation represents the height after it's launched? Okay. So we are told this is the maximum at this many seconds. So time is 1.8, height is 51.84. So that's our first point. So if you think we had a question like this earlier, time was on the x-axis, height was on the y-axis. Here we are, we're going to launch it. It's going to go up. It's going to be its very highest at this point. And then it's going to come back down, and they tell us it hits the ground, so flat on the ground after 3.6 seconds. So this is 3.6 up nothing. The height would be up nothing, right? Whew. Okay. Let's do it. There's many different ways to do it, though. I'm trying to think which would be the easiest. You could just pick the easier of these 2 points and plug them in. So you have this guy and this guy. I would say the second one is easier. This is T, this is H. So if you just look at A, does 0 equal negative 3.6 squared plus 3.6? And you can just run that through your calculator or Desmos. So don't do the 0 equals, but just do negative 3.6. Oh, negatives on the outside. 3.6 squared plus 3.6. Does that equal 0? No. So A is wrong. And now let's try B. So same point. Definitely using that second point, it's easier. So let's do 0 here and 3.6 here. So does 0 equal negative 3.6 squared plus 51.84? Let's try that. So the first part can actually stay. And that does not equal 0. I know there we go. That does not equal 0, so B's out. Let's try C. So there's the height, there's the time. So negative 0 equals negative 16, 3.6 minus 1.8 squared minus 3.6. Let's see if that equals 0. And then I've already thought of a better way to do this, a faster way. Negative 16. Does this equal 0? No, it doesn't. So it better be D. So C is out. By process of elimination, we should be at D. Plugging 0 here, 3.6 here. So 0 equals negative 16, 3.6 minus 1.8 squared plus 51.84. So I think I could just make oops, I deleted it. Never mind. There. Does that equal 0? Why is it mad at me? Oh. There we go. Yes, it does. D is the answer. That worked, but I've thought of a better way. So D is right. If you have to plug in chug, you can get it as D as in dog. Or this is a parabola, right? This is its vertex. If we know the vertex form of a parabola, which is f of x, is a x minus h squared plus k. So this is h, this is k, which would give us a x minus 1.8 squared plus 51.84. We don't have x, we have t because we were in time. So if I just change that to t, which one looks like this? We don't know the a, it's actually negative 16 because of gravity, but it's fine. Even if you didn't know that, you still have the negative 1.8 right here and the 51.84 here. That would have been the easier way to know it if you knew this formula, which again is vertex form of a quadratic. The plug and chug worked. That was faster if we knew that formula. 26. Let's draw our triangle. Looks like we have a right triangle because it says the measure of angle B is 90. And it says, ooh, let's see. And BD is an altitude of the triangle. The length of AB is 15, and the length of AC is 23 greater than the length of AB. So do 15 plus 23, so this is 38. What is the value of BC over BD? So we kind of have this extra point D where it makes an altitude. Okay. Let's see. Trying to think where we should draw D. So an altitude is a line segment drawn perpendicularly from the vertex of a triangle to the opposite side. From the vertex. But if we draw this straight down perpendicular, B is D. And we could do the same thing from C. We could draw straight perpendicular, but then again, B is D. So, maybe I have not drawn this correctly. Let's try this again. In triangle ABC, the measure of B is 90. This has to be a right triangle. Sorry, I'm just talking to myself here. The length of AB is 15, and AC is 23 greater than that. So 15 plus 23 is 38. And then it says the BD is an altitude. Well, if you start at any vertex, I guess we could do this actually. Start at B, go to D. That could be. What is the value of BC over BD? Well, first of all, let's get BC. Let's not worry about D right now. Let's put an X right here and do Pythagorean. So 15 squared plus X squared is 38 squared. So 225 plus X squared is 1444. Minusing this. So we have X squared is 1219. Take the root. And that's like 34. Ooh, I don't think we need that. Why? Goodness. Let's be thinking about this the wrong way. These questions get really tricky at the end, but we will get there. I still kind of want to say drop from here. So this is D. So what is the value of BC, this, compared to BD, which was 15? So I think 15's got to be on the bottom. So something over 15, because that was BD, because I'm assuming B is the same as D. So if that assumption is correct, we can get rid of A and we can get rid of B. Okay. What is the value of BC over B? Oh, wait. I don't think that's. I'll tell you the answer D. I'm going to look through what they have here. This one's stumping me for a second. It's D. All right. It's given that we have triangle ABC and the measure of B is 90, and that BD is an altitude of the triangle. Say that's D. Okay. But then, okay, so, okay. It follows that angle B is congruent and C is congruent to angle C. So this is A, this is C. No, that's not working either. All right, let me come back to that one. That one's bothering me. Let's come to 27. We have a quadratic that is in vertex form. So this one lies because really vertex form is x minus h plus k. So to turn that to a plus, this must have been x minus -7 because that's where it turned plus, and then plus 4. So this number was really -7, and then this one stays 4. I always just remember that the guy with the x lies. So where does it reach its minimum? Okay, so this has an A value of 1. Since that's positive, it's going to be a happy parabola, and its minimum will be at its vertex. And they're asking what value of x. So -7. And that's what you would type in. That's correct. Okay. If you did not want to do that one by hand, you could just graph it. X plus 7 squared plus 4. X plus 7 squared plus 4. Okay, and then it wants to know the minimum. So right there, that's the lowest it goes. And they wanted to know the x value. So -7. So either by hand or graph. Graph's probably a little faster, but they both work. And now I think that's the end. Yes, that's the end of module 1, but I still need to figure out this one. I will do module 2 in a separate video. Why is this one so rude? B is like D. BD is an altitude. Oh, okay. You got to go from B to D. Okay, there we go. Okay. This is A, this is C. Okay, I think I was not reading thoroughly. Okay, look at the whole big triangle. I'm going to highlight here in blue, A, B, C. Okay, I'm just going to draw that one here. A, B, C, and we are told that A to B is 15, and then if we add the 23, we get A to C is 38. Now look at the little triangle that we made. We highlight that in green. Okay, I'm going to draw that one separately. So that has D as its right angle. B's kind of, if you turn it, B would be at the top, C's at the side. Okay, now if you look at those two triangles, the blue one with the green one, B is a right angle, D is a right angle. So angle B is congruent to D because they're both right angles. And then C's in this one, C's in this one. So angle C is congruent to itself because that's the reflexive property. So we have by angle similarity. The blue is similar to the green. Okay, so what is the value of BC over BD? But we do not know either of those. Okay, well, I got the similar triangles. Now I'm stuck again. Let's see. Oh, okay. Look at the blue one. In the blue one, or sorry, look at the green one. In the green one, BC is the hypotenuse and BD is the kind of upright leg. So I'll call it UL, upright leg. If you come to the blue one, we have the hypotenuse and we have the upright leg. And we know in similar triangles, those ratios are going to be the same. So BC, hypotenuse, compared to BD, upright leg, will match hypotenuse compared to upright leg. There we go. Goodness, for some reason, I just did not like that one. But we got there. So the key to that was honestly, I think, drawing the triangles separate and realizing they were similar by similarity, and then taking it from there, knowing that similar triangles have congruent ratios of sides. Ooh, I did not like that one. All right, that was module 1 of the PSAT or the NMQ, whatever, the National Merit. I will do module 2 at a different time, and I hope this was helpful. Sorry for that number 26. Even I get stumped sometimes, but we got there. Never give up, and I hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you back in a second video for part 2 or module 2 of this PSAT practice test. Thank you, and have a good day.